Surprise! I've given the house to MOM. She needs it more than we do, my husband announced at dinner. His mother already had her bags packed. Perfect timing. The foreclosure notice I'd been hiding was about to arrive. I nearly choked on my wine. There sat my husband of 7 years, beaming like he'd just cured cancer, while his mother Joyce smiled smugly from across the table, her suitcases already visible in the hallway. What do you mean you've given her the house? I asked, setting down my fork carefully. Too carefully. Mom's been struggling since Dad died, Brandon explained, reaching over to pat his mother's hand. Living alone in that big house, paying rent, it's too much for her. So I told her she could have this place. We'll get a smaller apartment somewhere. How generous of you, I said, my voice dangerously calm. And when exactly did you make this decision? Last week. I signed the deed transfer papers yesterday. He had the audacity to look proud. Don't worry, babe. I know it's sudden, but family comes first, right? Joyce spoke up then, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Oh, Meredith, don't look so shocked. Brandon told me you'd understand. After all, you're always saying how family is everything. My name is Meredith Russo, and at 34, I'd built my life on 2 principles: hard work and protecting what's mine. I'd met Brandon 8 years ago when he was a charming bartender with big dreams and bigger debts. I was a financial analyst, stable and secure, and I'd fallen for his enthusiasm and promises of a future together. What I hadn't fallen for was his complete inability to manage money or his mother's toxic influence over every aspect of our lives. Brandon, I said slowly, you can't just give away our house. There are legal procedures. Already handled, he interrupted, pulling out a folder. Mom's friend is a notary. We did a quick claim deed. See? All official. I looked at the paper. Sure enough, there was his signature, transferring his interest in the property to Joyce Connors. The notary seal looked legitimate. What wasn't legitimate was Brandon's assumption that he had any interest to transfer. Sweetheart, I said, the endearment tasting like ash, we need to talk. Privately. Whatever you need to say, you can say in front of Mom, Brandon insisted. She's family. Joyce leaned back, sipping her wine, my wine, from the bottle I'd been saving for our anniversary. That's right. No secrets in this family. Fine. I pulled out my phone. No secrets. Let me just check something. I opened my banking app, navigating to the mortgage section. There it was, clear as day, Meredith Russo, sole borrower. $342,000 remaining balance. 3 months behind on payments. Brandon, I said conversationally, remind me again whose name is on the mortgage? He frowned. Both of ours, obviously. We bought the house together. Did we? I showed him the screen. Because according to this, I'm the only one on the mortgage. Remember? Your credit was too bad to qualify. I bought this house. I've been paying for this house. And lately, I've been not paying for this house. The color drained from his face. What do you mean, not paying? I mean that for the past 3 months, instead of making mortgage payments, I've been saving that money. Planning our future. Our separate futures. You stopped paying the mortgage? Joyce screeched, standing up so fast her chair tipped over. On my house. Your house. I laughed. Joyce, you don't own anything. Brandon can't give you what he doesn't have. He's not on the deed, he's not on the mortgage, he has no legal claim to this property. But the quick claim deed, Brandon stammered, is worthless. You can't transfer interest you don't have. It's like me signing over your car to my sister. Meaningless. You're lying, Joyce hissed. Brandon said the house was in both your names. Brandon says a lot of things, I replied. Like when he said he'd help with bills. Or when he promised to get a real job. Or when he swore he'd stop letting you treat me like garbage in my own home. How dare you? Sit down, Joyce. My voice cut through her outrage. You're about to learn exactly how much I dare. I pulled out another folder. I'd been carrying it for days, waiting for the right moment. 3 months ago, I discovered something interesting. Brandon, remember when you asked me to pay your student loans for a few months? Just until you got back on your feet. He nodded mutely. Turns out you don't have student loans. You dropped out after 1 semester. That $500 a month I've been sending? It's been going straight to your mother. That's not, Joyce started. I have the bank records, I continued. 5 years of payments. $30,000 total. For loans that don't exist. Brandon's face cycled through emotions, guilt, anger, fear. Mom needed help. Then you should have asked. Instead, you lied. You stole from me. I turned to Joyce. And you were happy to take it. Every month, cashing those checks, knowing they were based on a lie. You can afford it, Joyce spat. With your fancy job and your investments. Brandon deserves that money. He's your husband. I corrected. Past tense. I filed for divorce last week. The silence that followed was beautiful. Brandon's mouth opened and closed like a fish, while Joyce's face turned an alarming shade of purple. You can't, Brandon finally managed. We're married. California is a community property state. I get half of everything. Half of what? I asked innocently. The house that's in foreclosure? The car that's leased in my name only? The bank accounts I emptied last month. You emptied our accounts? My accounts. Your name was never on them, remember? You said it was easier that way, less complicated for taxes. I smiled. You were right. It was much easier. Where's the money? Joyce demanded. That's marital property. Gone. Legally transferred to trusts and investments you can't touch. My lawyer made sure of that. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. But don't worry. You won't be homeless for long. The foreclosure process takes about 120 days. You've got maybe another month before the bank starts eviction proceedings. You planned this, Brandon accused. You've been planning this for months. 3 months, I confirmed. Ever since I found out about the fake student loans. I knew I needed to leave, but I wanted to do it right. Let you show your true colors. By destroying our credit? Joyce shrieked. This foreclosure will ruin Brandon financially. No, it'll ruin my credit, I corrected. Brandon's credit is already garbage. That's why he's not on the mortgage, remember? And after the divorce, after the bankruptcy I'll file to discharge the debt, I'll rebuild. I'm young, I have a great job, and I've got enough saved to start over. Bankruptcy? Brandon's voice cracked. You're going to file bankruptcy? Chapter 7. Fresh start. The lawyer says I'll be able to buy another house in 2 to 3 years. I picked up my purse. You, on the other hand, will have an eviction on your record. Good luck renting anywhere decent with that. Meredith, please. Brandon stood up, reaching for me. We can work this out. I love you. You love what I provide, I corrected, stepping back. A house, a lifestyle, a cover story for your failure to launch. But that's over now. What about the things I've done for you? He demanded. 7 years of marriage. I supported your career. You played video games while I worked 60-hour weeks. You supported me by spending my money and letting your mother insult me every Sunday dinner. I headed for the door. Your bags are in the garage, by the way. I packed them yesterday. You can't kick me out. I live here. You squat here, I corrected. And as of tonight, you squat somewhere else. Maybe your mom's rental. Oh wait, you gave that up because you were moving into her house. Joyce grabbed my arm as I passed. You little bitch. You've ruined everything. I looked down at her hand, then up at her face. Joyce, in about 30 seconds, I'm calling the police to report assault and trespassing. You might want to let go. She released me, but her eyes burned with hatred. You'll regret this. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you are. A person who refused to be used anymore? I suggested. A woman who stood up to her lying husband and his toxic mother? Please tell everyone. I'll provide receipts. I walked out the front door of the house I'd bought, the house I'd loved, the house I was willing to lose to gain my freedom. Behind me, I could hear Brandon and Joyce arguing, blame flying like shrapnel. My phone buzzed. A text from my lawyer. Divorce papers served. Your new apartment is ready. Fresh start begins now. I sat in my car, looking back at the house one last time. In a few months, it would belong to the bank. Brandon and Joyce would be someone else's problem. And I'd be free. The funny thing about Brandon's surprise was that it wasn't a surprise at all. I'd seen the text messages between him and his mother, planning this ambush. I'd known for days that they were going to try to steal my home. What they hadn't known was that I'd already stolen it from myself. The foreclosure wasn't an accident or a desperate move. It was strategy. My lawyer had walked me through it. With Brandon not on the mortgage, I could let it go into foreclosure, file bankruptcy, and walk away clean. Brandon would get nothing in the divorce because there was nothing to get. The house had no equity, the accounts were empty, and the debts were all mine to discharge. You can't squeeze blood from a stone, my lawyer had said. And after this, you'll be stone broke on paper. On paper was the key phrase. The money I'd saved from 3 months of missed payments, plus what I'd accumulated over years of being the only adult in the marriage, was safely tucked away where Brandon couldn't touch it. Not life-changing money, but enough for a fresh start. My phone rang. Brandon. Meredith, Mom says we should call the cops. Report the house as stolen. I laughed so hard I almost dropped the phone. Stolen? Brandon, you can't steal something you already own. And you can't own something that's not yours. This is fraud. You tricked us. No, fraud is lying about student loans for 5 years. What I did was completely legal. Stupid, maybe, to tank my own credit, but legal. Where are we supposed to go? Not my problem. Maybe ask your mom's notary friend. The one who helped you try to steal my house. I started the car. Oh, and Brandon? The utilities are in my name too. I've scheduled them for disconnection tomorrow. Wouldn't want you running up my bills. You're evil, he whispered. No, I said. I'm done. There's a difference. I hung up and drove away. In my rearview mirror, I could see Joyce on the lawn, gesticulating wildly. Probably planning her next move. Let her plan. She could scheme all she wanted from a motel room. 6 months later, I ran into Brandon's cousin at a coffee shop. She couldn't wait to tell me the gossip. Joyce is living in a studio apartment, she whispered gleefully. And Brandon's working 2 jobs just to afford his share. They blame you for everything, of course. Of course, I agreed. Was it worth it? Destroying your credit, losing the house. I thought about my new apartment, small but mine. My growing savings account. My peace of mind. The absence of toxic Sunday dinners and financial lies. Every penny, I said. Or in this case, every missing payment. She leaned in closer. Joyce tells everyone you're a gold digger who robbed Brandon. Robbed him of what? His non-existent assets? His fake student loans. I stirred my coffee. The only thing I took from Brandon was myself. Turns out, that's all I needed. Later that week, I got a letter from Joyce's lawyer. She was suing me for emotional distress and financial damages. I forwarded it to my lawyer, who literally laughed over the phone. She wants damages? For what? Not successfully stealing your house. He was still chuckling. I'll handle this. Don't worry about it. I wasn't worried. Joyce could sue all she wanted. You can't get money from someone who's strategically bankrupt. And you can't claim damages when your criminal scheme fails. The foreclosure went through as predicted. The bank took the house, sold it at auction. I filed Chapter 7, discharged all the debts, and started rebuilding. It was hard, starting over at 34 with ruined credit, but it was my ruin. My choice. My freedom. Brandon tried to contest the divorce, claiming I'd hidden assets. The forensic accountant found nothing because there was nothing to find. Every transfer had been legal, every dollar accounted for. The judge granted the divorce with no alimony, no settlement, no nothing. But Your Honor, Brandon's lawyer argued, my client gave up career opportunities to support the marriage. What opportunities? The judge asked. He hasn't held a job for more than 6 months in 7 years. He maintained the home while Ms. Russo worked. According to these bank records, they had a cleaning service. What exactly did he maintain? Brandon couldn't answer. Because the truth was, he'd maintained nothing but his gaming statistics and his mother's lifestyle on my dime. Now 2 years later, I'm rebuilding. My credit score climbs a little each month. I'm saving for another house. One that will be mine alone, with no lying husband or toxic mother-in-law in sight. Sometimes I drive past the old house. A young family lives there now, kids playing in the yard I once loved. I hope they're happy. I hope their mortgage is in both names. I hope nobody tries to steal it from them. Brandon still texts occasionally, usually when he's drunk. I miss us, he'll write. Or Mom says hi. I never respond. There's nothing to say to someone who tried to give away your home, like it was an unwanted couch. He thought he was giving his mother a house. Instead, he gave me my freedom. And unlike the house, that's something no bank can foreclose on. The foreclosure notice I'd been hiding? I keep it framed in my new apartment. A reminder that sometimes the best way to win is to lose everything that's holding you back. Joyce wanted my house. She got it, for about a month. Then the bank got it. And I got my life back. Worth every penny of debt I discharged. Worth every point my credit score dropped. Worth everything. Because in the end, the only thing Brandon successfully gave away was his claim to my future. And that was the only gift I ever wanted from him. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.